The turbulence hit without warning, rattling the airplane cabin and sending tiny tremors through every seat. Kyle Wilson gripped his armrests with one hand while the other instinctively reached toward his 6-year-old daughter Lily, who was coloring contentedly, seemingly unfazed by the shaking aircraft. It was the woman across the aisle who caught his attention, her breathing suddenly rapid and shallow, her knuckles white against the seat in front of her, eyes wide with unmistakable terror. "Breathe," Kyle said softly, just loud enough to carry across the narrow aisle. "In through your nose, out through your mouth." The woman didn't seem to hear him at first. Her gaze was fixed on nothing, her chest rising and falling at an alarming rate. "Daddy, why is that lady making funny sounds?" Lily whispered, looking up from her coloring book. "She's just a little scared of the bumpy air, sweetheart. Keep coloring your unicorn, it's looking amazing." Kyle smiled at his daughter before turning his attention back to the distressed passenger. The plane dropped suddenly, eliciting gasps throughout the cabin. The woman let out a small, strangled cry. Without thinking, Kyle unbuckled his seatbelt. "Lily, stay put for 1 minute, okay? I'm going to help the lady." "Okay, Daddy, I'll watch your seat." Kyle crossed the narrow aisle and knelt beside the woman's seat. Up close, he could see she was elegantly dressed, expensive-looking silk blouse, tailored pants, subtle diamond earrings, but right now her face was ashen, her perfectly manicured hands trembling. "Hi there," he said gently. "I think you might be having a panic attack. I'm Kyle. I've been through these myself. Would it be okay if I helped you through this one?" The woman's eyes, a striking amber color, finally focused on him. She managed a jerky nod. "Great. First, can you tell me your name?" Grace," she stammered. "Grace Sutherland." "Okay, Grace. We're going to breathe together, all right. In for 4 counts, hold for 4, out for 4. I'll count for us." Kyle demonstrated, keeping his voice calm despite the continued turbulence. 1, 2, 3, 4. Grace tried to follow, but another jolt of the plane sent her into a renewed spiral. Tears welled in her eyes. I can't do this," she whispered. "I'm going to die, we're all going to die." Kyle shook his head firmly. "No, we're not. This is just air pockets, completely normal. The plane is designed to handle much worse." "Sir, you need to return to your seat," a flight attendant said as she steadied herself against a nearby row. "My daughter's right there," Kyle pointed. "This passenger is having a severe panic attack. I'm helping her through it." The flight attendant assessed the situation and nodded. "Just stay low and be careful." She moved on, checking other passengers. "Grace, look at me," Kyle said, gently touching her arm. "Tell me something about yourself, anything." I run a company," she managed between ragged breaths. "What kind of company?" "Tech, software development." Kyle nodded encouragingly. "That sounds impressive. I'm a construction foreman myself, not quite as fancy." "Daddy builds houses," Lily chimed in from across the aisle, proudly holding up her coloring book. "He makes them super strong so they don't fall down." Despite her panic, Grace's eyes flickered to the little girl and the tiniest smile touched her lips. "That's my daughter, Lily," Kyle explained. "We're heading to Chicago to visit my sister." "I'm going for a meeting," Grace said, her breathing gradually slowing as she focused on the conversation. Kyle kept talking, asking simple questions about her company, telling her about Lily's recent kindergarten graduation, anything to keep her mind engaged. As minutes passed, the turbulence began to ease and Grace's color slowly returned to normal. "Thank you," she said when she could finally speak normally. "I'm usually not this doesn't typically happen to me." "Fear doesn't discriminate," Kyle said with a gentle smile. "Even the most put-together people can struggle with it." Grace straightened her blouse self-consciously. "I feel ridiculous." "Don't. I used to get panic attacks after my wife died. It took time to learn how to manage them." Compassion instantly replaced embarrassment in Grace's expression. "I'm so sorry about your wife. 3 years ago," Kyle said. "Cancer, it's just been Lily and me since then." The seatbelt sign dinged off and Kyle stood. "Looks like we're in the clear. You feeling better?" Grace nodded. "Much. I don't know how to thank you. No need. Just pay it forward someday." Kyle returned to his seat beside Lily, who immediately launched into a detailed explanation of the rainbow-maned unicorn she'd been coloring. What Kyle didn't notice was how Grace's eyes lingered on him for the remainder of the flight. or how she discreetly took a photo of his boarding pass when it fell from his pocket during deplaning. He was too busy making sure Lily had all her crayons packed away, worrying about whether his sister would have dinner ready when they arrived, calculating if he had enough in his checking account to cover a taxi from the airport. The life of a single dad working paycheck to paycheck didn't leave much room for noticing potential connections, especially not with women who wore shoes that probably cost more than his monthly rent. 3 days into their Chicago visit, Kyle was pushing Lily on a swing at a local park when his phone rang with an unknown number. "Hello," he answered, one hand still pushing Lily higher. "Is this Kyle Wilson?" a crisp, professional female voice asked. "Speaking. Who's this?" "My name is Melissa Travers. I'm the executive assistant to Grace Sutherland, CEO of Sutherland Solutions." Kyle's hand paused mid-push, causing Lily to protest. "Sorry, sweetie, just 1 second," he said before returning to the call. "The woman from the plane, how did you get my number, miss?" "Sutherland would like to extend her gratitude for your assistance during the flight by offering you and your daughter tickets to the Children's Science Museum Gala tomorrow evening. It's a charity event that Sutherland Solutions is sponsoring." Kyle frowned. "That's really not necessary." "I was just being decent. Miss Sutherland insists. The event includes interactive exhibits for children, dinner, and entertainment. We understand you're visiting Chicago and thought this might be an enjoyable experience for your daughter." Kyle glanced at Lily, who was now hanging upside down from the monkey bars. His sister had to work tomorrow evening, and he had been wondering how to keep Lily entertained. "Well, that's very kind, but I'm afraid we didn't pack anything fancy enough for a gala, miss." Sutherland anticipated that concern. "Appropriate attire will be delivered to your sister's address this afternoon if you'll provide it." Kyle hesitated. Something about this felt overwhelming, but Lily would love a science museum. "How did Miss Sutherland even find me?" There was a slight pause. "Miss Sutherland has considerable resources at her disposal." That wasn't exactly reassuring, but after getting assurance that there were truly no strings attached, Kyle agreed and provided his sister's address. He hung up feeling slightly dazed. "Who was that, Daddy?" Lily asked, now right side up and dangling by her hands. "A lady who wants to say thank you for something nice I did," Kyle explained. "She's invited us to a special party at a science museum tomorrow night. Would you like to go?" Lily's eyes widened. "Will there be experiments and robots?" Kyle laughed. "Probably, and fancy food too. Like princess food, exactly like princess food." That afternoon, 2 boxes were delivered to his sister's apartment, one containing a well-tailored charcoal suit that somehow fit Kyle perfectly, and a smaller one with a gorgeous blue dress for Lily that made her twirl around the living room in delight. "Whoever this woman is," Kyle's sister Megan said, eyeing the designer labels, "she's definitely not hurting for money." "She seemed well off," Kyle admitted, "but this is excessive for just helping someone through a rough moment." Megan raised an eyebrow. "Was she pretty?" "Megan, don't start." "I'm just saying it's been 3 years, and you're allowed to notice attractive women again." Kyle sighed. "She was beautiful, yes, but she's also clearly from a different world than mine." The following evening, a sleek black car arrived to take them to the museum. Lily bounced with excitement in her new dress, her hair neatly braided by Aunt Megan. Kyle felt self-conscious in the suit. It had been years since he'd worn anything so formal, not since Amanda's funeral. The museum was transformed for the evening, elegant lighting, servers with trays of hors d'oeuvres, and interactive science exhibits specially designed for children. Kyle had to admit it was impressive, though he felt out of place among the clearly wealthy attendees. "Daddy, look." "Bubbles, you can stand inside." Lily tugged at his hand, pointing to a station where children were being enclosed in giant soap bubbles. As Kyle watched Lily run toward the exhibit, a familiar voice spoke behind him. "She looks like she's having fun." He turned to find Grace Sutherland standing there, stunning in an emerald gown that matched her eyes. Her dark hair was elegantly styled, and a simple diamond pendant adorned her neck. "Miss Sutherland," Kyle said with a nod, "this is quite the event." "Thank you for inviting us, though it really wasn't necessary. Please call me Grace," she smiled. "And it was absolutely necessary. You provided help when I needed it most without judgment or expectation. That's rare. She glanced over at Lily, who was now standing inside a giant bubble, her face alight with wonder. Your daughter is adorable. Thank you. She's my whole world. I can tell. The way you look after her speaks volumes. Grace paused. Would you mind taking a walk with me? There's something I'd like to discuss. Kyle hesitated. Lily, we have childcare professionals supervising all the activities. She'll be perfectly safe and we won't go far. After checking that Lily was happily engaged with the bubble station and the attendant in charge, Kyle agreed to accompany Grace to a quieter area of the museum. I have a confession to make, Grace said as they walked. I didn't just invite you here to say thank you. I have a proposition for you. Kyle tensed. What kind of proposition? A job offer. Sutherland Solutions is expanding our Chicago operations. We're building a new campus, and I need someone to oversee the construction, someone who understands both the technical aspects and the human element. She turned to face him directly. Your current employer speaks very highly of your work. Kyle stared at her. You checked up on me. How much research have you done on my life? Grace had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. Enough to know you're excellent at what you do, underpaid for your skills, and that your current company can't offer you the advancement opportunities you deserve. So this is what? Charity for the struggling single dad who helped you on a plane? No, Grace said firmly. This is a business decision. I need someone with your qualifications and character. The fact that you helped me during a vulnerable moment just brought you to my attention. The rest is based on merit. Kyle ran a hand through his hair, conflicted. I live in Portland. Lily has school friends. The position comes with relocation assistance, a substantial salary increase, excellent benefits including childcare, and a flexible schedule so you can be there for Lily. Grace's voice softened. I'm not trying to upend your life, Kyle. I'm offering an opportunity that could make it better for both of you. Why me? There must be dozens of qualified construction managers in Chicago. Because I trust you, Grace said simply. And in business, that's invaluable. Kyle looked back toward where Lily was now examining a display about magnetism. I'd need time to think about it. Of course, take all the time you need. Grace handed him a business card. My direct line is on the back. Call me when you've made a decision or if you have any questions. For the remainder of the evening, Kyle found himself watching Grace as she moved through the gala, graciously speaking with donors and checking on the children's activities. There was something captivating about her confidence, but also about the genuine warmth she showed when interacting with the kids. When Lily finally exhausted herself with excitement, Kyle found Grace to thank her for the evening. We had an amazing time, he said, holding a sleepy Lily in his arms. Grace smiled, reaching out to gently touch Lily's cheek. I'm so glad. She's a wonderful girl. Thank you for everything. I'll think about your offer. That's all I ask. Grace's eyes lingered on his for a moment longer than necessary. Good night, Kyle. The car ride back to Megan's apartment was quiet, with Lily asleep against Kyle's shoulder. His mind was racing with possibilities. The job offer was incredible, life-changing even, but moving to a new city was a huge step. And then there was Grace herself. He couldn't deny the connection he felt, but was it professional to even consider that when she might be his employer? The next morning over breakfast, he discussed it with Megan. You should take it, Megan said immediately. This is exactly what you need, Kyle. A fresh start, better pay, more opportunities for both of you. But uprooting Lily, kids adapt, and she'd have me nearby. Plus, you've been stuck in the same position for years because that company knows you can't easily leave. This Grace person is offering you a chance to advance. There's something else, Kyle admitted. I think there might be. I don't know, something between us. Megan's eyebrows shot up. You like her. It's not that simple. She'd be my boss. Complicated, but not impossible. Megan sipped her coffee. Did she seem interested in you? I don't know. Maybe she's hard to read. Well, you won't figure it out from Portland. After returning to Portland, Kyle couldn't stop thinking about Grace's offer. He researched Sutherland Solutions and was stunned to discover the scope of Grace's success. She wasn't just wealthy, she was a billionaire, having built her company from scratch into a global technology leader over the past decade. A woman like that could have anyone. Why would she be interested in a widowed construction manager with a 6-year-old? 2 weeks after returning home, Kyle still hadn't called the number on Grace's card. He was at work, supervising the framing on a new apartment building when his phone rang with an unknown Chicago number. "Mr. Wilson, it's Melissa Travers again, Miss Sutherland's assistant." "Yes, hello, Miss. Sutherland is going to be in Portland tomorrow for a technology conference and would like to know if you'd be available for dinner." Kyle nearly dropped his phone. "Tomorrow? Yes, I could probably arrange something." "Excellent. She suggested you bring Lily as well. Would 6:30 work for you?" The restaurant is child-friendly but upscale. After arranging the details, Kyle called his regular babysitter, then reconsidered and canceled. If Grace wanted Lily there too, maybe this wasn't a date after all. Maybe it was just follow-up about the job. The next evening, Kyle and Lily arrived at the restaurant, an upscale farm-to-table place that Kyle had passed many times, but never entered, knowing it was well beyond his budget. Grace was already seated at a corner table, looking slightly less formal than at the gala but still elegant in a simple blue dress. "Daddy, it's the Bubble Lady," Lily exclaimed, recognizing Grace immediately. Grace laughed, standing to greet them. "I've had many titles in my career, but Bubble Lady might be my favorite." She knelt to Lily's level. "Did you know they have special desserts here just for kids, with ice cream and chocolate sauce that you can pour yourself?" Lily's eyes widened. "Really? Really? And while we wait for our food, I brought something you might like." Grace reached into a small bag beside her chair and pulled out a children's science kit. "It's a simple crystal growing set. My niece loves hers." "Thank you," Lily said, examining the box with interest. "Daddy, can we do this tomorrow?" "Of course we can, sweetheart." Throughout dinner, Grace made sure to include Lily in the conversation, asking about her school and friends, seeming genuinely interested in her answers. Kyle found himself relaxing, impressed by how naturally Grace interacted with his daughter. When Lily became absorbed in the children's activity placemat, Grace turned her attention to Kyle. "I was beginning to think you weren't going to call." Kyle sipped his water. "I've been thinking about your offer. It's very generous. But it's a big change for both of us." He gestured toward Lily. Grace nodded. "I understand that. Family has to come first." She hesitated. "That's actually part of what I admire about you, Kyle. Your dedication to your daughter is evident in everything you do. She's what gets me out of bed every morning. I can see that." Grace's expression grew thoughtful. "My parents died when I was young. My grandmother raised me, and she worked incredibly hard to give me opportunities. I see that same devotion in you. I didn't know about your parents. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago, but it shaped me, just as I'm sure losing your wife has shaped you and Lily." Kyle nodded, surprised by her insight. "Every day, the job offer stands, Kyle. But I want to be completely transparent with you." Grace took a deep breath. "My interest in you isn't entirely professional." Kyle's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" "I mean that since that flight, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. About your kindness, your calm strength, the way you care for Lily." Grace met his eyes. "I'm attracted to you, Kyle, and if that makes the job offer uncomfortable, I completely understand." Kyle was stunned into silence for a moment. I've thought about you too," he admitted finally. "But he gestured vaguely, "and I'm just don't," Grace said firmly. "Don't reduce yourself to just anything. You're an exceptional man, Kyle Wilson. It would be complicated. If I took the job, you'd be my boss. Actually, you'd be reporting to our director of facilities. I'd have no direct supervisory role. But yes, it would still be complicated." Grace smiled wryly. "Most worthwhile things are." Before Kyle could respond, Lily tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, can I have the chocolate dessert now?" The moment broken, they returned to safer topics for the remainder of the meal. When it was time to leave, Grace walked them to Kyle's truck. "Thank you for dinner," Kyle said, "and for being so good with Lily. She's delightful. You're raising an amazing daughter." There was an awkward pause. "About what you said earlier," Kyle began. "You don't need to decide anything tonight," Grace interrupted gently. "About the job or anything else, just promise me you'll think about it." "I will." Grace surprised him by leaning in and placing a soft kiss on his cheek. "Good night, Kyle." Over the next week, Kyle couldn't stop thinking about Grace's offer, both the professional and personal implications. He talked it over with Megan on the phone, researched schools in Chicago, and even had a heart-to-heart with Lily about how she would feel about moving. "Would we live near Aunt Megan?" Lily asked. "We would." "And would I still get to see the bubble lady?" Kyle smiled. "Her name is Grace, and yes, I think you would." Lily considered this. "I'd miss my friends, but I could make new ones, right?" "Absolutely." "Then I think it would be okay, Daddy." With Lily's blessing, Kyle made his decision. He called Grace that evening. "I'd like to accept the position," he said when she answered. "If it's still available." "It is," Grace replied, and he could hear the smile in her voice. "I'm thrilled, Kyle." "There's something else," he added. "About what you said at dinner. I'd like to explore that too, slowly, carefully, with Lily's well-being as the priority, but I'd like to see where it could go between us." "I would like that very much." The transition wasn't seamless. Moving across the country with a 6-year-old came with challenges, from finding the right school to helping Lily adjust to a new environment. The job itself was demanding, with Kyle overseeing the construction of a cutting-edge corporate campus. But Grace was true to her word. The position offered flexibility that allowed him to be there for Lily when she needed him. As for his relationship with Grace, they took it slowly. Their first official date was a month after Kyle moved to Chicago. Dinner at a restaurant overlooking Lake Michigan, while Lily had a sleepover at Aunt Megan's. Their second was a Saturday afternoon at the Art Institute with Lily in tow, Grace pointing out her favorite paintings while Kyle carried Lily on his shoulders so she could see better. 4 months into their relationship, Grace invited Kyle and Lily to her lake house for a weekend. Sitting on the deck after Lily had gone to bed, Grace took Kyle's hand. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice serious. Kyle tensed. "What is it?" "When we met on that plane, I was at a crossroads in my life. I'd achieved everything I thought I wanted professionally, but I was empty." That panic attack wasn't just about turbulence. It was a culmination of years of pushing down my own fears and anxieties, never letting myself be vulnerable. Kyle squeezed her hand encouragingly. "You saw me at my worst, my most afraid, and you didn't judge me or try to take advantage. You just helped." Grace's eyes glistened in the moonlight. "That day changed everything for me. It made me realize what was missing in my life: genuine connection, compassion, love." "Grace, let me finish. I know this has happened quickly. I know there are complications, my position, your past, Lily, but I'm falling in love with you, Kyle Wilson, and with your daughter too. And I need you to know that my feelings are real. This isn't a whim or a novelty for me." Kyle reached out to brush a tear from her cheek. "I've been afraid to say it," he admitted. "Afraid it was too soon, afraid of what it would mean for Lily if things didn't work out. But I'm falling in love with you too, Grace, and it terrifies me." "Why?" "Because I never expected to feel this way again. After Amanda died, I thought that part of my life was over. I was focused on being the best father I could be, making sure Lily had everything she needed. I wasn't looking for this." "Neither was I," Grace whispered. "But here we are." "Here we are," she echoed, leaning in to kiss him softly. 1 year later, on a clear autumn day, Kyle stood in the backyard of Grace's now their lake house, surrounded by friends and family. Lily, now 7, was practicing her important role of flower girl, carefully counting her steps just as they'd rehearsed. Megan approached, straightening Kyle's tie. "Nervous? A little," he admitted. "But not about marrying Grace, just about not tripping over my words during the vows." Megan smiled. "Amanda would be happy for you, you know. She'd approve of Grace." "I think so too," Kyle said softly. "She always said Lily and I deserved the world." "Well, you're literally marrying a woman who could buy it for you," Megan teased. Kyle laughed. "The money doesn't matter. It never did." "I know. That's why Grace loves you." When the ceremony began, Kyle watched as Grace walked toward him, radiant in a simple ivory gown. But it was the look in her eyes that took his breath away, pure, unguarded love. As they exchanged vows, Kyle thought about their unlikely beginning, a panic attack on a turbulent flight, a chance connection that neither of them had been looking for. Life, he realized, was a lot like that plane ride, unpredictable, sometimes terrifying, but ultimately taking you exactly where you needed to go. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Lily rushed forward to hug them both. Are we a forever family now?" She asked, looking up at them with hopeful eyes. "Yes, sweetheart," Grace said, kneeling down to Lily's level despite her elegant dress. "We're a forever family." That night, after the celebrations had ended and Lily was asleep, Kyle and Grace stood on the deck overlooking the lake, just as they had the night they first confessed their feelings. "Do you ever think about how differently things might have turned out?" Grace asked, leaning against him. "If there hadn't been turbulence that day, sometimes," Kyle admitted, "but I think we would have found each other somehow. Some connections are just meant to be." Grace smiled up at him. "For a construction guy, you can be surprisingly poetic." "Only with you," he said, pulling her closer. "Only with you,"